And good morning, everyone, and namaste, and good morning, Utsoda. Welcome to Hindu Lounge. This is Hindu Lounge, and Hindu Lounge is once again it's Sunday morning, and it is Hindu Lounge. Hindu Lounge comes to you live every Sunday at 11 o'clock Eastern, and at Hindu Lounge we talk about contemporary Hindu American issues, American Hindu issues. I am Ajay Shah. I am the president of World Hindu Council of America, and with me, as always, is Utsoda. Utsoda is the executive director of Hindu Pact. Hindu Pact uh, is the policy research and advocacy initiative of World Hindu Council of America, or VHPA, and we talk about contemporary American issues, and we always have exciting topics to talk about. We come live. We are broadcast on YouTube. We are broadcast on Twitter and on Facebook on our regular channels every week. And so that welcome to Hindu Lounge. This is our 86th episode, and we have some very interesting and exciting topics that we have picked today, including one of the topics that is not particularly American Hindus, but it affects all Americans. And we'll talk about that towards the end of the show. And that is the vocabulary, the woke vocabulary that has been making its way in America. So we'll talk about a Wall Street Journal article which talked about some of these new words that are being introduced to the American English, I guess. With that, Utsada, welcome to Hindu Lounge.
Namaste, everybody, and thank you, Ajay Bhai. Good morning. I have the slide ready to show, Ajay Bhai, if you set it on, and
Yes.
we will start with our Shraddhanjali to Manani Mahesh Mehta ji. As you all know, he's the founder of VHP America, and we'll start with a very unique and a very interesting message, and we will let you see the person who it is. So, Ajay Bhai, let me know when you...
Absolutely. We are ready to go, Utsada. And this is a tribute to Dr. Mahesh Mehta, who passed away in towards the end of December. And uh, we had a really, really good Pratna Sabha Shraddhanjali event yesterday. And in that event, we we received messages. The event lasted almost 3 hours, and because there were really nowhere to say no to anyone who wanted to express their opinion, and everyone was spoke for a minute, 2 minutes. But the two guests who who gave really, really meaningful message that summarized all the contributions that Dr. Mehta made. And so, what we are going to do today is we're going to present those two. So, we had maybe dozens of tributes, but I'm going to talk about just two of them we're going to show today. With that, Utsada, here it is. Please go ahead and put it on full screen, and I will turn my video off. And you may want to turn your video off as well, Utsada.
नमस्कार। कभी सोचा नहीं था कि आज इस रूप में महेश भाई को याद करने की नौबत आएगी। पिछले महीने जब महेश भाई हम सबको छोड़ करके चले गए तो मेरे जैसे अनेक लोग हैं जिनका मन उदास होना बहुत स्वाभाविक था। कितने दशकों का संबंध आज भी उनका वो चेहरा याद आ रहा है। आत्मीयता के साथ मुस्कुराते हुए मिलना, जो भी मिले उसे जोड़ने का प्रयास करना, अनेक प्रकार से सर्वमान्य सर्वप्रिय ऐसा उनका व्यक्तित्व। आज जब आप सब साथियों के बीच में खड़ा हूं, मैं भी आप ही की तरह उन्हीं भावों को महसूस कर रहा हूं कि हमारे एक वरिष्ठ साथी चले गए। मैं महेश भाई को श्रद्धांजलि देता हूं, ईश्वर से प्रार्थना करता हूं उन्हें श्री चरणों में स्थान दे। रागी बहन ने भी एक प्रकार से सच अर्थ में एक सहयात्री के रूप में, एक मित्र के रूप में महेश भाई के विचारों को जीने का प्रयास किया और वो महेश भाई की एक ताकत बनी हुई थी। महेश भाई के एमएस यूनिवर्सिटी का कैरियर, उनकी टैलेंट, इन सारी बातों को देखते हुए उनके लिए बहुत स्वाभाविक था कि मेम्ब्रेन टेक्नोलॉजी का साइंटिस्ट और डबल डॉक्टरेट की डिग्री के बाद वो अपने लाभ के बारे में सोच सकते थे, अपने परिवार के वैभव के बारे में सोच सकते थे। लेकिन महेश भाई के संस्कार उन्हें उस तरफ नहीं ले गए। देश और समाज के साथ जुड़ने की ओर ही प्रेरित करते रहे और वो जीवन भर करते रहे। हमारे विचारों को, हमारी परंपराओं को, हमारी संस्कृति को, और उसमें भी अमेरिका में बसी हुई फर्स्ट जनरेशन जो थी, उनके साथ संपर्क बना करके जो अमेरिकन बोर्न इंडियन जनरेशन थी, उनके लिए सोचना, रचनात्मक कामों की रचना करना, बालों के संस्कार के लिए अनेकविध प्रवृत्ति करना, यानी वो पूरी तरह इसी में डूबे रहते थे। हम जानते हैं कि राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ के स्वयंसेवक जहाँ जहाँ गए, उन्होंने अपने संस्कार के अनुरूप कुछ न कुछ काम खड़ा करने का प्रयास किया। प्रारंभिक दिनों में अफ्रीकन देशों में काफ़ी मात्रा में काम होता था, लेकिन वहाँ का एक परंपरा अलग थी, वहाँ लोग अलग थे, वातावरण अलग था, जो लोग गए उनका बैकग्राउंड अलग था। लेकिन महेश भाई जब अमेरिका गए तो पश्चिमी दुनिया की नज़रों में जो सवाल होते हैं उनके जवाब हमें देने होंगे, इस विचार को लेकर के उन्होंने पूरी टर्मिनोलॉजी गठित करने का प्रयास किया, कन्विंसिंग भाषा में चीज़ों को पहुंचाने का प्रयास किया। और उन्होंने यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में अच्छे थिंक टैंक बनाए जो इस काम को करते थे। 5 दशक से भी ज़्यादा समय जिस बीज को उन्होंने बोया था, खुद ने उसको सींचा भी था और वैसा वटवृक्ष बना है कि महेश भाई के न होते हुए भी उस विचार बुझ से पले बढ़े पनपे संस्कारित हुए सब लोग, आप सब मेरे सामने बैठे हैं, वे इस काम को आगे बढ़ाएंगे। आपातकाल के दिनों में महेश भाई ने जिस प्रकार से दुनिया भर में हमारे लोगों को एकत्र करना, संगठित करना और दुनिया के हर कोने से लोकतंत्र के पक्ष में आवाज उठे, इसके लिए बड़ा अभियान चलाया था। हम तो जानते ही हैं हिंदुस्तान में जो संघ परिवार होते हैं, एक प्रकार से उनके घर भी एक कार्यालय बन जाते हैं। महेश भाई का घर भी एक प्रकार से कार्यालय ही था। भारत से अगर कोई विचार परिवार का व्यक्ति वहां गया, अटल जी जाए तो भी वहां पर, अशोक सिंघल जी जाए तो भी वहां पर, हर कोई उन्हीं के यहाँ भी रहना और वे भी आवश्यक सारी व्यवस्थाएं करें, चिंता करें। यानी एक प्रकार से परिवार स्वयं में एक जीवंत कार्यालय बना हुआ था। अंजलि बहन के जीवन में जब संकट आया और महेश भाई ने जिस प्रकार से पूरे परिवार को संभाला, मैं उन दिनों साक्षी था। परिवार में इतना बड़ा संकट आया था, लेकिन सबको संभालना, और महेश भाई ने कोई धैर्य नहीं खोया। और जिस प्रकार से उन्होंने अंजलि बहन को रचनात्मक जीवन की ओर मोड़ दिया और एक अच्छे कार्यकर्ता के रूप में उनको काम करने के लिए उन्होंने प्रेरित किया। अंजलि बहन भी चली गई, महेश भाई भी चले गए, लेकिन आप सभी साथी विपरीत परिस्थिति में भी काम करने के आदी हैं। आज अनुकूल परिस्थिति है, हमारे विचार को, भारत के सामर्थ्य को जानने के लिए दुनिया उत्सुक है। भारत की कल को भी लोग जानना चाहते हैं और भारत की आने वाली कल में हिस्सेदार बनना चाहते हैं। एक सानुकूल वातावरण है। इस वातावरण में महेश भाई का न होना हमें कमी महसूस होगी, लेकिन उन्होंने जो संस्कार दिए हैं, परंपराएं खड़ी की हैं, व्यवस्थाएं खड़ी की हैं, वो हमारा मार्गदर्शन करती रहेगी। पथ प्रदर्शक के रूप में भी हमेशा हमेशा हमें काम आएगी। चाहे वक्तृत्व की बात हो, चाहे लेखन की बात हो, चाहे किसी से आर्गुमेंट करके उसको जीतने की बात हो। और मैंने देखा था कि महेश भाई किसी को पराजित करने का कोशिश नहीं करते थे। वो वाद विवाद से ज्यादा संवाद करते थे और जीतने का प्रयास करते थे, सामने वाले को जीतने का प्रयास करते थे, उसे समझने का भी प्रयास करते थे। और यही कारण था कि कभी भी अमेरिका की जो यंग हमारी टोली थी काम करने वाली, उनको कभी जनरेशन गैप नहीं लगा। मैं देख रहा था सारे यंग यूनिवर्सिटीज के स्टूडेंट्स महेश भाई के नेतृत्व में काम करते थे। तो ये भी अपने आप में महेश भाई की विशेषता थी कि हर स्तर पर जाकर के उनके साथ बात करना। तो आज एक अच्छे साथी, निकट साथी, और जीवन के आखिर तक कभी न कभी मेरी बात होती रहती थी, मैं फ़ोन करता रहता था। आखिर में मैं एक बार अहमदाबाद गया तो वो व्हील चेयर में थे, लेकिन एयरपोर्ट आए, चेहरे पर वही खुशी थी, वही आनंद था। और हर पल देश के लिए सोचना, समाज के लिए सोचना, पल पल यही सोचते रहना, यही इनका था। मेरी ईश्वर से प्रार्थना है कि प्रवासी भारतीय परिवार, विश्व हिंदू परिषद अमेरिका से जुड़े लोग, महेश भाई के सभी करीबी साथी, उनके परिवारजन, सबको महेश भाई का जीवन हमेशा प्रेरणा देता रहेगा, उनको नई दिशा देता रहेगा। इसी एक भावना के साथ मैं आदरपूर्वक महेश भाई को श्रद्धांजलि देता हूं, और आप सभी उनके निकट साथियों को पूरा मुझे भरोसा है कि आप महेश भाई के सपनों को पूरा करने में कोई कमी नहीं रखोगे। मेरी आपको शुभकामनाएं हैं। महेश भाई की भावनाएं आपके साथ हैं, महेश भाई ने बनाई हुई परंपरा आपके साथ है, महेश भाई के सपने भी आपके साथ हैं, महेश भाई के संकल्प भी आपके साथ हैं, और आप उन संकल्पों को सिद्धि तक ले जाने में कोई कसर नहीं छोड़ेंगे, ये मेरा पूरा विश्वास है। बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आदरपूर्वक महेश भाई को मैं फिर से एक बार अंजलि देता हूँ।
So that this is the next video.
नमस्कार।
So the next video we have is from Param Pujya Mohan Bhagwatji. Param Pujya Bhagwatji, as everyone who is listening to this show may know, he is the Sanghchalak of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh in Bharat, and this is the video tribute that we had yesterday for Dr. Mahesh Bhai Mehta. So that,
Ajay bhai, if I shared the screen again, if you allow it, I'll
sure.
go for it.
Yeah.
पहली बार मैं महेश भाई से मिला तो मुझे लगा कि बहुत ही स्पष्ट बोलने वाले, अंग्रेजी में कहते हैं आउटस्पोकन, ऐसे व्यक्ति है। लेकिन ध्यान में आया कि हर बात को बारीकी से जानना, उसके लिए प्रश्न पूछना, और ब्लंटली पूछने पड़े तो वैसे पूछना, लेकिन संकोच नहीं करना, बात को जानना, और जानने के बाद वो बात समझ में आई तो बाद में फिर उनका जो सबमिशन रहता था वो कंप्लीट रहता था। बहुत डायनामिक थे, हर बात में विचार करते समय जो मर्यादा बनी है उसमें भी चलना आता था, और जहां आवश्यक है वहां आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स थिंकिंग, ये वो करते थे। और एक बार क्या करना तय हो गया कि वो बहुत स्पीडीली हो जाए, जल्दी से जल्दी हो जाए, इसके लिए वो स्वयं भी प्रयत्न करते थे और अन्यों को भी उन आग्रह करते थे। मुझे लगता है कि वो एक अच्छे टास्क मास्टर रहे होंगे, लेकिन काफी हिम्मत से विपरीत परिस्थिति में से तरह तरह की कल्पनाएं लड़ाते हुए उन्होंने कार्य को संभालकर अन्य लोगों के साथ आगे जो बढ़ाया, उसमें से और आज संघ का कार्य, संघ की समाज में प्रतिष्ठा, विभिन्न प्रकार की परिस्थितियों का सामना करने की संघ कार्यकर्ताओं की शक्ति, ये सब बना है, ये ध्यान में आता है। वो बहुत पहले मिले थे, बहुत वर्षों के बाद जो समाचार मिला वो समाचार उनके जाने का ही मिला, परंतु उनके सारे चलने फिरने बोलने करने से ये जो 4-5 बातें काम करते समय कार्यकर्ता ने ध्यान में रखने की सामने आई, वो हम सब ने स्मरण करने लायक है। मैं उनकी पवित्र स्मृति को अपनी आदरांजलि अर्पण करते हुए मेरे श्रद्धांजलि के ये 4 शब्द समाप्त करता हूँ।
So the I want to let me turn this video off today, and so that I do want to mention one thing, and that is I had the privilege of knowing Mahesh Bhai since 1984, and it was more than just the leadership of the Hindu movement in America, the founding of the Hindu movement in America. It is the personal connections that he made, the openness he showed to new ideas, the deep intellectual thinking, but not just intellectual thinking for the sake of intellectualness, but intellectual thinking that can actually be implemented and made into a meaningful outcome. I mean, these are the qualities uh, on connecting to everyone at a personal level, motivating literally hundreds of people to do Hindu work. These are all the qualities that a leader would have and should have, and it is no coincidence that the Hindu movement in America was founded by a person with that kind of capability, that kind of character, that kind of intellect, and that kind of leadership qualities. So, be you know, uh, uh, to large extent, I would say so that what we are doing today is a tribute in many ways to what Mahesh Bhai, the movement that Mahesh Bhai created. So that if you don't mind, I am going to I'm going to read one quick thing that Mahesh Bhai said in 1994 as a message to Hindu Students Council. So he came to a Hindu Students Council meeting in 1994, and he gave the message to the Hindu students, and these are the small 6 points that he made. So he said that the students should develop respect for our spiritual heritage, and ask the students, and please, so that note these words, and everyone who is listening, note these words. He said he wanted the students to explore, experience, and express Hindutva. Remember, this is 1994. He said, recognize and deal with anti Hindu forces, align with friendly forces, build up a global network of university students inspired by the lofty ideals of Hindutva. Learn to sacrifice and to serve, and purify mind through the practice of yoga. This is in 1994 at a meeting of Hindu Students Council. So almost 30 years later, this message Utsoda is, and everyone else listening, is as true today as the day it was delivered, and will resonate with the American youth, American Hindu youth, for generations to come. Okay, so with that, Utsoda, we can move on to the next part of the program. Once again, our gratitude, our tribute, our Shraddhanjali to Dr. Mahesh Mehta, the founder of VHPA. So, over to you. And please, continue sharing your screen. Or if you want, I can do it. This is the first topic so that we have is something we talked about right a few months ago, and it all seems like we keep revisiting some of our topics because the topics don't go away, and some of these same conversations happen. But once in a while, we get a chance to tell people that we told you so, and so this is the topic on "We Told You So." Um, Here is the news item from last week, and uh, so the Netflix, the online streaming platform, reported a. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Right? See. Okay.
I mean, we can see the headline, and
Yeah.
I
So
think the headline is the important part here.
oh, there you go. There you go. So Netflix is frustrated because its business in India is not growing. And one of the things is of course price war, but despite of the price war, Disney's Hulu is growing, Amazon Prime is growing, but not Netflix. And why is that? And the CEO of Netflix is of course not very happy because they've invested money in India, and they've noticed that they've not noticed that despite of spending money in India, despite of doing a lot of production work in Bollywood, compared to their competitors, they're not growing. Compared to investors, they're not growing. Compared to their own previous years, they're not growing. But this should not come as a surprise to anyone, right? So that we kind of have been talking about Netflix as long as like a year and a half ago. We said that at this rate, Netflix is not going to grow because, what do you think?
Well, yes. So a year and a half ago, actually, exactly in July 2020. So in the height of the first wave of the pandemic, in our one of our initial Hindu Lounge shows, I would say it was in the first five shows, one of those shows. Uh, we had told, and we had a whole show of discussion on it, where we said that Netflix in India is not doing business in India in order to cater to the people of India and their sensibilities and their taste and their likings and dislikings. They were doing it to peddle an agenda, knowingly or unknowingly. And we had talked about it in detail. We had gone into the nuances of what could be the reason why they are making this effort. And lo behold, 1.5 years later, uh, Netflix in India comes out with a huge loss, very little market growth. And as Ajay Bhai said, we are in the moment of we told you so, because your content doesn't match the people you are trying to make the content for. And in fact, it is quite offensive and ideologically motivated. So we feel like this was in the coming. And if Netflix had paid any attention to anything we said, they could have fixed it. But instead, I think Netflix focuses on creating programming based on inputs from South Asia department scholars in woke American universities and their counterparts in India.
No, not even that, Utsada. They actually
Not even
listen
that,
to,
probably.
and they actually listen to the people who are entrenched in Bollywood, who have little regard for Hindus, and they've taken Hindus for granted for last 75 years, and they continue to take Hindus for granted, and they think that mockery of Hindu dharma will get them name and fame and everything else. And the amount of money they generate, they think that they've earned the right to do this mockery, and it has been proven right that by mocking Hindus you can actually make money. But India is changing. Hindus are changing, and Hindus are not just changing in terms of their assertiveness. The Hindus are free. Finally, Hindus are shedding their the colonial influences, and Hindus are now standing up and saying that you cannot insult our heritage, our culture, our dharma, our traditions to make money. And I think Netflix is now beginning to face the headwinds of the Hindu assertion and Hindu reclamation of its own history.
Yeah, maybe that there should be a hashtag that says decolonize Netflix content or something, like
Something
decolonize
like that.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, that will actually remind Netflix what to do.
Or they can talk to us. They can listen to the show. They can talk to us, and we'll give them guidance.
You can obviously, I mean, if they are willing to talk to the people who helped them create this kind of crappy programming, I'm pretty sure they should be open to talk to us.
I mean, look at this program. Like they have the programs, and you have some slides here. So that let's. So by the way, these are a couple of. So when Netflix announced before we go to the shows, as soon as Netflix announced that Reed Hastings, who is their CEO, is frustrated because they're not getting enough business in India. On Twitter, there was a lot of meat. I told you so things that people started saying. So here are the a sampling of these couple of comments. So one is from Mohandas Pai, who is one of the co-founders of Infosys, and he says that Netflix lack of success in India has been frustrating co-founder Reed Hastings. And hey, at Netflix, one of the big reasons is anti-Hindu tribe that your group here peddles as content. You insult the majority of Indians and hope to grow. Listen to your own viewers. And Shubhangi Sharma, I believe she is a journalist, and she says that uh, with the battered stock, Netflix Reed Hastings says it frustrates them that they haven't been more successful in India. Meanwhile, Netflix shows in India, and she goes on to list them. Uh, Leela shows dystopian Hindu society. Leela, a show called Leela, which shows the dystopian Hindu society. Krishna and his Leela. We had a whole show on Krishna and his Leela.
Actually, we had discussed, Ajay, we had
Yeah, we
discussed
had discussed
both
that show,
Layla. We had discussed Krishna and his Leela,
and
and we
then
had
we talked
also
about
discussed.
Veerdas, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
and
Veerdas was
and
our
in
New Era
addition to
of the
that, we
Week.
had discussed Hassan Minaj, whose show has been eventually taken off, or ended. His series has ended.
Yeah,
But yeah, so we had discussed a few of these in our one and a half the show that we did 1.5 years ago, and we had flagged that the contents were not good, and they were, to us it looked like it was intentional, and I believe it was, to make an outrageous comment against Hindus. But Netflix went on and added a few more offensive folks to it, including Veer Das and Zakir Khan and Anubhav Singh Basai. So it is not a surprise.
yeah, it is absolutely not a surprise. And I, I why would Utsada? Why would a company like Netflix um, go out of its way to antagonize its main audience?
See, I think if you look at the analysis we did last time, I still stick to this analysis. Like, there is a pattern to the reason why they do it, and that pattern falls into three categories of people, essentially, who do it. Number one are the people who genuinely hate Hindus. They hate Hindus because they could be ideologically colonized. They genuinely believe that Hindus do not deserve the same place next to other ideological, social, religious belief systems globally. They do not deserve that place. Part of it arises out of their own theological grounding, right? There are belief systems out there, powerful religions out there, who believe that they are the only one who will inherit the earth, quote unquote, literally. So obviously they will encourage dislike and hatred for an ancient Sanatana religion like Hindu Dharma. So that is one of the set of people who do it. They could be geopolitical, historical, other compulsions with which they arrive at anti-Hindu narrative. And they control a lot of the media. They have a lot of resources, and in terms of both financing as well as creativity that they have access to. So they do create programming that has indirectly targeted Hindus. That's the first category, and that category probably is the most representative in places like Netflix. Then you have the next group of people who are well-meaning Hindus themselves, but may actually be so ignorant that they really don't know their front from their back, and inadvertently do promote programming and create content that they themselves don't realize is offensive. And I think a lot of creative people in India uh, who grew through the 1970s and 80s, during the days of socialism and almost a well thought out, well planned disinformation campaign against the Indic civilization that was arrived at in the 70s and 80s under the ideological systems that ruled the country. These Hindus grew up in those eras, and now today they are in charge of creative content creation, uh, whether they are in charge of money, and then they produce content that they themselves don't realize could be quite anti-Hindu. So this is the second group of people who do this, and obviously there are third group who just believe that it's a there's a long range of intellectual freedom that people should have, long range of creative freedom that people should have. Uh, they are afraid for their lives when it comes to other religions, because their lives are at risk when they show creative freedom with other religions. But when it comes to Hindus, they feel like it's a flexible, open architecture belief system, and therefore they can take those creative freedoms. And sometimes they just copy the West. So if the West is showing, if Hollywood is showing things in a certain way, then they will just try to replace the corollaries from the Hollywood and try to copy it in the Indian context. And a lot of stand-up artists like Veer Das, there's a whole genre of a comedy in the West, especially in America, which is called being an insult comic. You insult people and make fun of them. Uh, they literally try to copy that without actually having the intellectual abilities to analyze what is actually insulting and what is outright disrespect and hatred. And they sometimes cross that line. They don't cross that line with certain religions, because they know that that line could lead to a real threat to their own lives. But with Hindus, they take that freedom. So I think these are the three categories that the creators of anti-Hindu shows like those that are in Netflix come from. And we analyzed this last time in our show 1.5 years ago. So I believe it still stands today. And today our people like Mr. Hastings from Netflix should actually look into the content creators and whose shows they are trying to promote, and see which of these three categories their content creators fall into, and maybe do a SWOT analysis about it, and see what it looks like. Uh, so Ajay bhai, we don't need to share the screen, because I
Absolutely.
discussed the
Yeah, yeah,
slides
yeah, yeah.
that
You're right. So this is but this is not just Netflix, right? If you look at the way the current Bollywood shows that are being brought out, and the people who are quote unquote ruling Bollywood today, they're all of the same kind of thinking. And if you look at you look at the anti-CA agitation, and actresses like Deepika Padukone and other actresses and actors who took the streets in support of the in support of those who are preventing persecuted Hindus from places like Afghanistan and Pakistan to get refuge in India. I mean, these are the people. Not only so, none of these people like Swara Bhaskara and other people, they are not dumb. Okay, but one should understand the people who are in Bollywood today, they're not dumb. They are smart, agenda-driven people, and whose agenda is to be against Hindus. And
well,
these
Ajay
are the
bhai,
people.
I think
And there's
again,
money. And there's money.
there are three categories that I described. All of these people you are talking about, whether it is Swara Bhaskar, whether it is Deepika Padukone, they fall into one of these three categories. Now, the first category being outright Hindu haters for ideological reasons, for theological reasons. The second category being people who actually don't know about Hindu dharma themselves, and therefore they don't know what they're doing. They are just ill informed, and sometimes they don't mean well. Sometimes they are somewhat ambivalent, but they genuinely believe that they are doing something good for Hindus. And then there is a third category of people who just think it's a creative, in the scale of creative freedom, and they really don't care. The second and the third category sometimes merge. So I believe that those, for example, Swara Bhaskar, in my opinion, I genuinely believe that Swara Bhaskar is ideologically motivated
Of
to
course.
see the decline of Hindu
Yeah,
dharma as
her mother, she models herself after her mother, and her mother is a professor at JNU, and this is who she is. She is extreme left, a Naxalite supporter who who has not found any Hindu cause that she likes, and she's out there opposing every single Hindu issue that comes up, or Indian national issue that comes up. And that is why she was out on the street supporting the anti-CAA agitators. Um, and look, I mean, there is certainly, and Netflix kind of organizations go and get their advice from people like Swara Bhaskar, probably. Um, so that's but so that I see some positivity on the horizon. I think the best way to deal with this kind of Hindu hate is to vote with our dollars and rupees. And I think that Hindus have now started doing it. The fact that Netflix is now seeing a loss in revenue will make Netflix think twice before they put up more shows. The same is true for other such quote unquote entertainment, where they see the dollars dropping off and the stock price is getting affected. They will stop putting out the kind of content that they're putting out. Right. So the final words on this topic.
no, I agree with you, but we have a long way to go. I do not believe that this is, just the fact that Netflix lost money over the last few years is something that will encourage them to change. They are a multi million dollar company, and they will do what they have the leverage and the ability and the stretch to continue to do the things they are doing. But I believe that from the Hindu side, the message has been sent. I believe that there will be more reception of Hindu content. Somebody in the messaging board, Wellness Universal, said that they should show shows like Ramayana and Bharata. They actually are showing Ramayana, the original Ramayana. They are showing that, so that is available on Netflix. So there is a understanding within Netflix, building within Netflix, that we need to start adjusting our content to find more viewers who will accept us as Hindus, because we are not, they don't want to come across as anti-Hindu folks. uh, but I think over a period of time, they have the ability to be more respectful. They have the ability to be more decolonized. And and again, from the audience perspective, we should give them honest reviews, which we have done. As an organization, as an advocacy group, Hindu Pact should be included as part of the brainstorming that Netflix does in content creation. In fact, American Hindus Against Defamation, AHAD, which is a BHP America project, should be included as part of brainstorming and thought leadership from the Netflix side, to ensure that there is no defamation of Hindus or Hindu symbols and Hindu ethos
Yeah.
in their content creation. I mean, that would help. They do that for other communities, other global religious communities. They do that. And
So that just we have in past one of the bigger commercial, very huge commercial organization came to us before this put out their product, and which had some Hindu imagery, and asked us if it would be offensive to Hindus. And we actually worked with them, and we want to and we told them the portions that were offensive to Hindus. And we appreciated that. This was several years ago. We appreciated that because it is better to do this in advance, and that way they don't Hindus are not offended. And the commercial entity does not undergo losses, so it is really a win-win in many ways, right? So I think that's a very good advice to Netflix. And AHAD is always available to all these people who want to put out content based on uh, some Hindu imagery or you know uh, Hindu deities or Hindu culture or customs or whatever. We will tell them if that's something that they're putting out is offensive to Hindus or not. All right, Utsada, with that.
And I have a question from Mr. Ashok Shahji. Ashok Shahji, I wanted to see where he can watch the Narendra Modi video for the Shraddhanjali to in our that we showed in our show to Mahesh Mehta ji. Ashok ji, if you go to YouTube VHPA videos, or if you go to our Facebook page, VHPA Facebook page, once this show is over, the entire show is available for watching. You can play the beginning of the show, and you will have Prime Minister Narendra Modi's speech for Mahesh Mehta ji in that. So
Correct.
please wait for the show to end, and you can go back and watch it on YouTube or Facebook.
Okay. And Utsada, with that, we come to our today a little. We're talking about Netflix, and what better way to talk about Netflix than this? And here is the okay, Utsada. Here is uh, India Today article that came out this week, and this is the article that is about a show on Netflix, and it is called "Hey Bridgerton: Why Upper Caste Hindu Kate Sharma and Not a Dalit Woman as Lead in 2022." This is the article, written by uh, Narita. Niyarita Mukherjee. Sorry, I didn't mean to butcher her name. There are a lot of other things I can comment about. Narirta Mukherjee. I hope I'm saying that correctly and my pronunciation is right on this. Narirta Mukherjee, and she is one of the assistant editors at India Today, and she is commenting on one of these shows. And this is not an Indian show; it is a British show, and she is telling Netflix that they should now have uh, people of a certain caste in the lead character. So this is apparently a very popular show. And here's what she says. She said, "No, not that we are expecting Bridgerton season 2 to now be our white savior, as if Brahmin saviors were not enough, but Bridgerton could have been inclusive in true sense, not just for the sake of it. Why not Dalit or tribal woman in place of Hindu upper caste woman Bridgerton? Why not Sapui instead of Sharma?" Now, what she is saying is that the casting in the movies should be based on caste. Now, this is because she's saying that, hey, look, I mean, this particular show is all about has a lot of diverse characters, and they have in terms of races and all that. So now let's start casting the characters based on caste as well, not just colors and ethnicities, but also on the basis of caste. Utsada, what do you think?
Here is my response to Miss Mukherjee. Uh, Let
Or
me modify,
Mukhopadhyay?
and this is or Mukhopadhyay, herself a Brahmin last name, have carrying a Brahmin last name. So here is my letter to India Today. Hey India Today, why upper caste Hindu Mukherjee and not a Dalit woman writing this article? Fire her from her job, hire a Dalit lady to write this article.
Yeah, I think that would be right, because I think I'm sure if somebody has to do an analysis of all the people who are working at India Today and make sure that they follow the same they follow the same things that they are recommending Bridgerton to be doing, and that is make sure that they are diverse and inclusive, and all the among the writers and editors and all of them, and make sure that uh, you know Nirartha Mukherjee does not have this position, because she's legitimately taking away a job from someone else who is absolutely more deserving than her. And
There is one more thing I wanted to say on this. I also believe that this kind of uh, brutal uh, divisiveness being promoted on any topic like this, and finding a space in a decently respectful organization like India Today. India Today is not a tabloid newspaper or a Marxist campus outlet. It is a decently respected media outlet. To have somebody like Miss Mukherjee be able to write an article, however insignificant, in India Today, also shows the real pressure that organizations like India Today face from this whole woke identity, literally identity politics based divisive agenda peddlers. And and just the fact that this article came through and was allowed to be published in India Today shows the pressure the editors face there. So that it is not going to be it's going to be not nice if India Today continues to go down that road and eventually ends up being this. Many other media outlets have gone through into that rabbit hole. you know Washington Post has gone into that rabbit hole. New York Times has gone into that rabbit hole. So India Today has to be very careful not to keep sliding down that rabbit hole, because it leads to eventually a loss of credibility. Today organizations like New York Times and Washington Post have very little credibility. Nobody believes them anymore. You have a whole new genre of media coming up that replaces them, that has replaced them now. And they are owned by multinational billionaires, like in that case of Washington Post by Amazon, because of which they are able to subsidize them and survive. It's like, keep producing whatever crap you want to produce. We'll just keep funding you because your name matters. It has a legacy to it. But eventually that legacy will go away, and India Today shouldn't end up like New York Times and Washington Post if they continue to
yeah,
publish this crap.
absolutely. So and with that, let's see. We have uh, the so that you had I'm going to skip a couple of things because we have already kind of talked about all of these things. So this is about the article
Yeah, yeah,
that you talked about.
yeah, yeah.
But I want to quickly pivot to one of the articles that came out. One of the articles that came out in Washington Post, sorry, Wall Street Journal, actually. So that let me share this article with everyone and talk a little bit about it, because this is we all live in America, and I think this is some of these articles are kind of fun articles to read and talk about. So let me share this particular article and get your take on it. Okay, so this is the article that came out in the Wall Street Journal, and it is let me make this font a little bigger. Is it is about an inclusive language, and let's see if I can make this more readable. It would be helpful if I can remove this sidebar altogether. Move this here. All right. So that this is an article about this is the article about Google's inclusive language policy. And so that we have to take this article with some sense of humor. Okay, so we don't want to take everything that is written here very seriously. We want to have fun with this article. So before anyone becomes very serious and starts talking seriously, just let's take it in the right spirit. Okay, so here is the article, and I'm going to skip some parts that are we do a good job at reading the articles for you and just summarizing it for you, so that you, our audience, don't have to waste your time reading this a lot of the articles. So that is the job we have taken on for ourselves, which is summarizing the articles. So Google has created, and here is the portion that I'm reading. Google has created guidelines for inclusive language and software and documentation that describes how software should reflect hypersensitive feeling, of programmers who are immersed in woke culture and fixated on victimhood and offense. Apparently, these guidelines will be enforced in the future in all new open source projects. Okay, open source means everyone contributes to it, and people can use it freely, kind of software. And various other technology groups, including at some university and professional associations, have developed their own guidelines. And Microsoft recently introduced a feature for its popular word software that can ferret out and replace non-inclusive words and phrases. Hey, Utsada, we should be proud that both of these companies are headed by Hindus. So this is the Hindu contribution to America. Okay. So as people who have worked on high performance computing can know that there are processors. If you're doing very high performance computing, you have you kind of break down a process, and you have multiple processors working on it, where one processor is kind of is spawning off the work to other processors, and then gathering the work that is done back, and that is called that is called the main node that is spawning off the work to other nodes is called the master node, and the other nodes are called the slave nodes. And obviously you cannot have master and slave computer processors, because the slave processors would obviously feel bad about it. And you cannot have, of course, whitelist and blacklist, and you cannot have something called black box, where what is happening you wouldn't want to know. So I'm sure that that those guidelines now will be followed everywhere. And now the list so then the author goes on and says, the list of terms excluded in the name of inclusion offer borders on ridiculous. I was amused to picture some millennia programmed by years of training in diversity, equity, and inclusion, sitting around at a sensitive training meeting and coming up with this list. As a senior citizen, I was surprised to find that the term isn't inclusive enough for Google, as it is quaint, 80-year young. Instead, Google says my cohort should be called older adults. Apparently, the push for inclusion goes beyond people. Google urges developer to replace older version when describing computer program with earlier version. So that if I was 80-year old, I would rather be called a formerly young adult, or a former infant, or a former toddler, right? Wouldn't you be called former toddler? Because now you can relate to Maya more, right? Because you can say, hey Maya, I am a former toddler, I can relate to you. uh,
Yeah,
so
I also I am, my mental age is still that of a teenager. So
there you
I
go. Yeah,
so is yours, Ajay bhai. Given
yeah,
given
we
this,
can attest to your we can all attest to what you just said too. So
yeah.
but
So your mental age is also that of a teenager. Given
so
the
we are all
choice
now
of sound music you pick for the Hindu Seva charity of, no, Hindu hater of the week. So yeah, we
Uchada,
are all
we are now
formerly.
all competing to be we are all now competing to be who is more young, and what applies to us better. So we all want to be formerly young adult or
But
formerly
Ajay bhai, see, the
teenager.
thing is that the choice of your music actually gave away your age.
So I'm progressively going down. So that was one.
Yeah.
Then I'm going down one step at a time. Utsada, don't you think that I have thought about what you're going to say? Here, I am going to play. Uh, I'm going to now play hip hop. So I'm progressively coming down in age.
Hip hop is also very 19
I'm
and
coming.
1990s.
I'm going 10. I'm going a decade back each time. But please call me a former infant, and I'll be very happy with that. Um,
You are a former infant,
there
Ajay
you go.
bhai.
So other words they have now said is, you cannot say that the software is crippled because of a bug. You cannot say the data is crazy. Anomalous data is crazy, and you cannot call a variable. Now, those who are programmers will relate to that. You cannot call a variable a dummy variable. You have to call it a placeholder, because dummy is not a And then my favorite this article is really well written. It's like, my favorite prescription is against the word smartphone. Presumably Google assumes other phones will be offended. So I mean, Google is very thoughtful, because Google wants to say that, look, I mean, how would it make the flip phone feel? You have to think
So
about the
instead of saying crippled, are we supposed to say the software is
is challenged,
algorithmically challenged,
algorithmically challenged, or something like that, right? Or
syntax challenged?
yeah, exactly. Or you have to say, and you have to say, and look, I mean, you cannot offend a flip phone, because now flip phone will feel dumb. So how can you call iPhone or a Samsung Android phone or whatever? How can you call it a smartphone? Because how would it feel? All the other phones feel. So
That's correct.
yeah.
Yeah.
But so that there is a more important, serious issue, and I should mention the name of the author here. The name of the author is Lawrence Krauss, and he makes a more serious point here, right? And while he says that, while the Association for Computing Machinery, or ACM, talks about quantum supremacy, the threshold where quantum computer first solves a problem a classical computer cannot solve in any feasible time, should be replaced because it alludes to crime against humanity. Because how can you use the word supremacy? Computer scientists in China and India and other places are working to achieve the actual quantum supremacy. So that is the serious part of it, right? While we are debating why these, all of these things, some real there's a real issue that gets overlooked.
Yeah, and I think this is very symptomatic of many other things in America as well. I think there are the intellectual tip of the spear in America is busy splitting hairs over woke issues, while other nations, and it's a competitive world out there in a globalized economy. Other nations like China and hopefully India are also catching up very fast and using the inefficiencies that have crept into the inefficiencies and redundancies and almost festering wokeness that has crept into American innovation, uh, and moving ahead of America, and that's not good for America. And as people who are in America right now and who consider America their home, we Hindu Americans believe that needs to be rectified, because we are going to keep falling back, essentially slowly over a period of time. And that's, in fact, this should be addressed in our universities. Our universities are becoming that space where innovation has given way to just political correctness and wokeness, and that's a very dangerous slippery slope to get into.
Absolutely.
No, that's music that comes from a adult, 80-year young infantile adult. Was that the term?
Yeah, but look, I mean, I'm sure that I'm going for younger and younger audience. Okay, I'm sure that Maya enjoys this show more than most adults do, because all the good stuff that we do here. All right, so
Maya,
that
I have to figure that out, because Maya stays around for about 10 minutes and then walks away. So we
well,
have to
well,
we
that
have to
that's
make our content more
that,
Maya Durga friendly.
that may be actually, I don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot here, but that may be 10 minutes more than a lot of other people stay around. So
That's a good one. That's a good one.
we have to take ourselves in the right context, right? So that with that we come to our regularly scheduled three segments that everyone usually waits for. The first one is the Hindu Seva Charity Act of the Week.
मनसा सततं स्मरणीयं मनसा सततं स्मरणीयं वचसा सततं वदनीयं मनसा सततं स्मरणीयं वचसा सततं वदनीयं लोकहितम्.
And with Sada, once again this week we have Hindu Lounge. We've been picking Hindu Lounge for a while because as people know, we did not do the year-end fundraiser gala for Hindu Lounge, and we are now in a process of raising funds for this year 2022, and we hope you can go and donate to Hindu Pact and support Hindu Lounge by going to hindupact.org/donate, or go to hindupact.org, click on the donate button on the right hand side top of the web page. Click on that button and please make whatever contribution you can to Hindu Lounge and to Hindu Pact. We appreciate all the contributions you can make. We know that times are difficult, the inflation is high, and so please do the best you can, and we would appreciate it greatly. Thank you once again for being our viewers and supporting Hindu Pact all through last year and a half. We, as you know, we make good use of all the funds that come our way. So once again, thank you everyone, and we look forward to more contributions for you so we can keep producing content that we are doing, and hopefully even better content. And with that, Utsoda, the next topic, next regular segment, the Hindu phobe or Hindu hater of the week. Who do we have? We already have one that we talked about, and that is the article on caste-based casting in Hollywood, and in in Netflix movies. The second one, Utsoda, and but I want to see what our audience has to say on this and what you have to say on this. I I have mixed reactions from this. Kit Kat, which is a candy bar made by Cadbury, Kit Kat. Interesting fact is Kit Kat has many versions. They actually adjust the taste and amount of sugar and chocolate in every country that they make it in, and so they have they have Kit Kat in India as well. And in India, they now started putting out the wrappers based on Hindu deities. And the first one they came up with was the artwork of Lord Jagannath or Bhagwan Jagannath from Jagannath Puri. And there was a lot of there was a lot of opposition to that, and eventually Cadbury went. I'm sorry, it's Nestle. I should not say Cadbury. Nestle, and Nestle had to go back and withdraw this. Um, so, so the I remember growing up in India where they had Ganesh Chap Bidi, which is Bidi, which is kind of an Indian version of cigarette, and they had the wrapper with Ganpati Bhagwan on it. And I know what kind of treatment that wrapper got, and I know a lot of the at least when I was growing up, a lot of the products came with pictures of gods and goddesses as wrappers, and box covers and all that, and then eventually you know it, I think that I don't see that as many of those anymore. But I thought that this is, if this were to come out in US, AHAD would be at the forefront of leading the opposition to this. And I think this trivializes the Hindu images, trivializes the representation of Hindu deities, and it is absolutely abhorrent that somebody would do this for commercial gain. Your thoughts?
I disagree with you, Ajay bhai. I believe this was, in fact, this is promotion by, this was in Odisha where Lord Jagannath is. The presentation is, I don't see it as disrespectful. It's actually something that is that's a everyday use art item that is traditionally handicraft from Odisha. I don't think this means anything harm. I think we have much bigger issues to worry. I won't call this Hindu phobe of the week. Is it in is it a wonderful thing to do? Maybe not. Did somebody did not think through this completely? Maybe. To call it Hindu phobe of the week is a bigger stretch at a time when Hindus have real people dying because of Hindu hatred against Hindus, and it happens every week. It happened this week also. A girl in Tamil Nadu committed suicide because somebody forced her to convert to Christianity, and when she was eager not to, then forced her to clean toilets, and then ultimately she committed suicide. So at a time when we have that level of hatred against Hindus manifesting in terms of itself and causing loss to life of young kids, to bring up this as a Hindu phobe of the week is a stretch, in my opinion. I also want to say that me and Ajay bhai disagree on things. And this would be probably one of the times when I would disagree with Ajay Bhai in calling this a Hindu folk of the week.
My contention is that these are the kinds of things that lead to violence against Hindus. We have seen that again and again. That when people ridicule your beliefs, and then they, based on those beliefs, people get converted. And when the people refuse to convert, then what happens is what happened in Tamil Nadu. So I think that the suicide of a young teenager in Tamil Nadu started by a group of people going to her village, ridiculing Hindu Dharma, converting her family by giving inducements and ridicule both. So they must have given money, and they must have ridiculed their former belief, which is Hindu belief. And and all the rest of her family converted, and she did not. And so then she was, she committed suicide. So her committing of suicide has the origin on ridiculing of Hindu belief. And the ridicule starts by taking your sacred symbols, your sacred representation of your sacred deities and art in a trivialized commercial way. And then uh, you know
I
and
I
then
I,
it
I
leads
think
to
that's a
sexual
stretch, Ajay Bhai.
violence. I
To bring it to that, to bring that comparison is a stretch, in my opinion.
we have right to be wrong in your case. So please do stick to your. I respect your right to be wrong, Utsoda.
I so do I.
And so with that, we come to the Hindu good news of the week. And I have a good news of the week. So that you have not seen this yet. So let me share the Hindu good news of the week. And I'm really happy because, as you know, that I am on the board of the board of trustees of Hindu University of America. And so that uh, there is a lot of push now to have Hindu education be available online. You might have seen the news item that a few months ago, uh, the Banaras Hindu University for the first time launched a course on Hindu Dharma. And now Amrita Vishwavidyapitham, who I'm also associated with, I have a adjunct faculty of appointment at Amrita Vishwavidyapitham, and so Amrita University, and now they have launched a course on Hindu Dharma. And as you know, it is a 200-hour course for 6 months, and anyone over the age of 16 years can take this course. So that I'm so proud to be associated with two universities now, and one as a faculty and one as a board of member of the board of trustees, and both are doing their share in promoting Hindu Dharma in an authentic kind of way. And I want to applaud. I truly want to applaud the work that both the Hindu University of America and Amrita Vishwavidyapith um, or Amrita University are doing. Uh, I think this is absolutely the need of the hour, and there's so much hunger out there in the world for people who want to learn about Hindu Dharma, and here we are, uh, you know, uh, from the Hindu organization perspective, providing and fulfilling that need. So, thank you to Amrita University. Thank you to Hindu University of America for doing the great job that you are doing. So, that your thoughts?
Oh, I think this is long overdue. This needs to be done. This could have been done 15 years ago, but it's being done now. So yeah, more power to them. Absolutely.
And with that, Utsada, we come to the end of the show today. Any final thoughts before we go?
No, I think we look forward to seeing you again next week, and we we are happy that Prime Minister Narendra Modi, we could play his speech from the Shraddhanjali. So hopefully you look at us, look at our work, support us, and we'll see you again next week.
And with that, Utsada, we come to an end of the show today. This is Hindu Lounge. Hindu Lounge is brought to you by Hindu Pact. Hindu Pact is Hindu Policy Research and Advocacy Collective, an initiative of World Hindu Council of America. It is hosted by Utsav Chakrabarti. He is the executive director of Hindu Pact, and I am Ajay Shah. I am the president of World Hindu Council of America, or VHPA. And we come live every week at 11 o'clock Eastern on our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter channels. And as we go away, and as the show fades, we will play a tune that is specifically created for us by Desi Bell. And so please stay tuned, listen to this fantastic music based on Rag Yamuna. This is the one that we played a few weeks ago. Desi Bell is undergoing some kind of a remodeling of their studios. So this is one of the previously recorded, previously played tune, but it is based on Rag Yamuna. So please listen to this fantastic piece of music, original music created by Decibel. And Utsada, with that, I will see you again next week. Uh,
See you all next week. Namaste.
Namaste, and here we go with our music of the week based on Rag Yamuna.